Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Chapter 19. Maitreya Uvacha Avadarya Virinchasya Nirvyalikamrutam Vachaha Prahasya Prema Garbena Tadapangena Sograhit. Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the words of Brahma, the Creator, which were free from all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. Tata sapatnam Mukatascharantamakuto bhayam jaganotpatya gadhaya hanavasuramakshajah. The Lord, who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma, sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiranyaksa demon, who was stalking fearlessly before him. Sahata tena gadaya vihata bhagavatkarat vigurnitapatadreje tadadbhuta mivabhavat. Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand and looked splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazing wonderfully. Satada labdhatirtopi nababadhe nirayudham manayan samrudhe dharmam vishvaksenam prakopayan. Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike his unarmed foe without obstruction, he respected the law of single combat, thereby kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord. Gadayam api viddhayam hahakare vinirgate manayamasa tad dharmam sunabham chasmaradvibhuhu. As the Lord's mace fell on the ground, and a cry of alarm arose from the witnessing crowd of gods and rishis, the personality of Godhead acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked his Sudarshana discus. Tam vyagrachakram ditiputradhamena swaparshadamukyena Vishanjamanam chitravacho tadvidham kecharanam tatrasmarasan swastite mum jihiti. As the discus began to revolve in the Lord's hands, and the Lord contended at close quarters with the chief of his Vaikunta attendants, who had been born as Hiranyaksha, a vile son of Diti, there issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality, and they cried, "May victory attend you! Pray dispatch him! Play no more with him!" Satam nisham yattara tangamagrato vyavastitam padma padmapalashalocanam विलोक्य चामर्षपरिप्लुतेन्द्रियो चच्वसन् तदमादचच्वसन्. When the demon saw the personality of Godhead, who had eyes just like lotus petals, standing in position before him, armed with his Sudarshana discus, his senses were overpowered by indignation. He began to hiss like a serpent, and he bit his lip in great resentment. करालदंष्ट्रश्चतुर्भ्यां सञ्चक्षाणोदहन्निव अभिप्लुत्य कगधया स्वगदया अभिप्लुप्य स्वगदया हतोऽसीत्याह नद्धरिम् अभिप्लुत्य स्वगदया हतोऽसीत्याह नद्धरिम्. The demon, who had fearful tusks, stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the time, "You are slain." पदासव्येन तां साधो भगवान् यज्ञसूकरः लीलया मिषतः शत्रोः प्राहरद्वातरंहसम्. O saintly Vidura, while his enemy looked on, the Lord, in his boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrificial offerings, playfully knocked down the mace with his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest. Ahachayudhamadhatsva घटस्वतं जिगीषसि इत्युक्तः स तदा भूयास्ताडयन् व्यनधद्मृशम्. The Lord then said, "Take up your weapon and try again, eager as you are to conquer me." Challenged in these words, the demon aimed his mace at the Lord and once more loudly roared. Tam sa apatatim vikshya Bhagavan samavastitaha jagraha leelaya praptam gurutmaniva pannagim. When the Lord saw the mace flying towards him, he stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize a serpent. Swapaurushe pratihate hatamano mahasuraha nauchagadam diyamanam harina vigataprabha. His valor thus frustrated, the great demon felt humiliated and was put on continence. He was reluctant to take back the mace which when it was offered by the personality of Godhead. Jagraha Trishikam Shulam Jwalanalolupam Yajnaya Dhrutarupaya Vipraya Bhicharan Yatha. He now took a trident which was as rapacious as a flaming fire and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against a holy Brahmana. Tadojasa daitya mahapatarpitam chakasadantah ka उदीर्णधीधिति चक्रेण चिच्चेद निशातनेमिना हरिर्यता तार्क्ष्यपतत्र मुञ्झितम्. Hurdled by the mighty demon with all his strength, the flying trident shone brightly in the sky. The personality of Godhead, however, tore it into pieces with his discus Sudarshana, which had a sharp edged rim, even as Indira cut off a wing of Garuda. Vrukne स्वशूले बहुधारिणा हरेः प्रत्येत्य विस्तीर्णमुरो विभूतिमत् प्रवृद्धरोषः सकटोरमुष्टिना नदन् प्रहृत्यान्तरधीयतासुरः. The demon was enraged with his trident. The demon was enraged when his trident was cut to pieces by the discus of the personality of Godhead. He therefore advanced towards the Lord and, roaring aloud, struck his hand fist against the Lord's broad chest, which bore the mark of Srivatsa. Then he went out of sight. Tenetamahata क्षत्तर्भगवानादिसूकरः नाकम्पत मनाक् क्वापि स्रजा हत इव द्विपः. Hit in this manner by the demon, O Vidura, the Lord, who had appeared as the first boar, did not feel the least quaking in any part of his body, any more than an elephant would when struck with a wreath of flowers. Ato rudhasrujanmayam yogamayeshware harau yam vilokya prajasrasta me niresyopasamyamam. The demon, however, employed many conjuring tricks against the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of Yogamaya. At that sight of this, the people were filled with alarm and thought that the dissolution of the universe was near. Pravavurvaya vaschandastamah pamsavamairayan digbhyo nipeturgravanaha kshepanaiv prahita iva. Fierce winds began to blow from all directions, spreading darkness occasioned by dust and hailstorms. Stones came in volleys from each corner as if thrown by machine guns. Dhyaurnashtabhagana braughaihi savidutsnata yitnubihi varshadbih purakesha srug vinmutrastini chasakrita. The luminaries in the outside space disappeared due to the skies being overcast with the masses of clouds which were accompanied by lightning and thunder. The sky rained pus, hair, blood, stool, urine, and bones. Girayah pratyadrishyanta nanayudhamucho nagha digvasaso yatu dhanyaha shulinyo muktamurdhajaha. O sinless Vidura, mountains discharged weapons of various kinds, and naked demonesses armed with tridents appeared with their hair hanging loose. Bahubhiryaksharakshobhihi pashyashvarata kunjaraihi आततायिभिरुत्सृष्टा हिंस्रावाचोऽतिवैशसाः. Cruel and savage slogans were uttered by hosts of ruffian yakshas and rakshasas who all either marched on foot or rode on horses, elephants, or chariots. Pradushkrutanam mayanam asurinam vinashayat sudarshanastram bhagavan prayunkta dhaitam tripat. The Lord, the personal enjoyer of all sacrifices, now discharged his beloved Sudarshana, which was capable of dispersing the magical forces displayed by the demon. Tada tadadite samabhavat sahasa hrudi vepatuhu स्मरन्त्या भर्तुरादेशं स्तनाच्चाश्रुक् prasrusruve. At that moment, a shudder suddenly ran through the heart of Diti, the mother of Hiranyaksha. She recalled the words of her husband, Kashyapa, and blood flowed from her breasts. Vinashtasu swamayasu bhuyascha भूयश्चाव्रज्य केशवं ऋषोपरुहमानोऽसुं ददृशेऽवस्थितं बहिः. When the demon saw his magic forces dispelled, he once again came into the presence of the personality of Godhead, Keshava, and full of rage tried to embrace him with his arms to crush him. But to his great amazement, he found the Lord suddenly outside the circle of his arms. Tam mushtibhir vinignantam vrajasarairadhokshajah karena karnamulehan yata Twashtram marutpatihi. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fists, but Lord Adhokshaja slapped him in the root of the ear, even as Indira, the Lord of Maruts, hit the demon Vrutra. Sa ahato vishwajita hyavajnaya परिभ्रमद्गात्र उदस्तलोचनः विशीर्णबाह्वङ्घ्रिशिरोरुहोपतद् यथा नरेन्द्रो लुलितो नभस्वता. Thus struck indifferently by the Lord, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to wheel. His eyeballs bulged out of their sockets. His arms and legs broke and the hair on his head scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. Kshitau shayanam tamakuntavarchasam karaladamstram paridashtadachadam ajadayo vikshya Shashamsuragata aho imam ko nulabheta samstitam. Aja, Brahma, and others arrived on the spot to see the fearfully tusked demon lying on the ground, biting his lips. The glow of his face was yet unfaded, and Brahma admiringly said, "Oh, who could meet such blessed death?" Yam yogino yoga samadhina raho dhyayanti lingadasato mumukshaya tasyaisha daitya rushabha padahato mukam prapashyam stanu mutsasarjaha. Brahma continued, he was struck by the 4 foot of the Lord, whom yogis seeking freedom from his unreal material bodies meditate upon in seclusion in mystic trance. while grazing on his countenance, his crest jewel of Diti, this crest jewel of Diti's son had cast off his mortal coil. एतौ तौ पार्षदावस्य शापाध्यातावसद्गतिं पुनः कतिपयैस्तानं प्रपत्स्नेतेह जन्मभिः. These two personal assistants of the Supreme Lord, having been cursed, have been destined to take birth in the demonic families. After a few such births, they will return to their own positions. Deva uchuhu Namo namaste kila yajñatantave stitau gruhita malasattva murtaye dishtya hatoyam jagatamarun tudastvatpada bhaktya vayamisha nirvrutaha. The demigods address the Lord. All obeisances unto you. You are the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and you have assumed the form of a boar in pure goodness for the purpose of maintaining the world. Fortunately for us, this demon, who was a torment to the worlds, has been slain by you, and we too, O Lord, are now at ease in devotion to your lotus feet. Maitreya uvacha evam hiranyaksha masahya vikramam sasadayitva hariradisookaraha jagamalokam swamakanditotsavam samiditah pushkara vishtaradhibihi. Sri Maitreya continued, after thus killing the most formidable demon Hiranyaksha, the Supreme Lord Hari, the origin of the boar species, returned to his own abode, where there is always an uninterrupted festival. The Lord was praised by all the demigods headed by Brahma. Maya yata nuktamavadite harehe krutavatarasya sumitra cheshtitam yata hiranyaksha udara vikramo. Mahamrudhe kridana vannirakruta. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, I have explained to you the personality of Godhead's coming down as the first boar incarnation and killing in great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess as if he were just a plaything. This has been narrated by me as I heard it from my predecessor's spiritual master. Suta uvacha iti kaushāravakkyatam ashrutya bhagavatkatam kshattanandam param lebhe mahabhagavato dvija. Sri Sutta Goswami continued, O dear Brahmana, Kshatta Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kausarava Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Anyesham punyashlokanam udamayashasam satam upashrutya bhaven modaha Srivatsankasya kim punaha. What to speak of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, whose chest is marked with Srivatsa? People may take transcendental pleasure even in hearing of the works and deeds of the devotees whose fame is immortal. योगजेन्द्रं जशग्रस्तं ध्यायन्तं चरणाम्बुजं क्रोशान्तीनां करेणूनां कृच्छ्रतो मोचयद्रुतं. The personality of Godhead delivered the king of the elephants, who was attacked by an alligator and who meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, the female elephants who accompanied him were crying, and the Lord saved them from the impending danger. Tam sukaradya mrujubhir अनन्यशरणैर्नृभिः कृतज्ञः को न सेवेत दुराराध्यमसाधुभिः. What graceful soul is there who would not render his loving service to such a great master as the personality of Godhead? The Lord can be easily pleased by spotless devotees who resort exclusively to him for protection, though the unrighteous man finds it difficult to propitiate him. यो वै हिरण्याक्षवदं महाद्भुतं विक्रीडितं कारणसूकरात्मनः शृणोति गायत्यनुमोदतेऽञ्जसा विमुच्यते ब्रह्मवधादपि द्विजाः. O Brahmanas, anyone who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in the wonderful narration of the killing of the Hiranyaksa demon by the Lord, who appeared as the first boar in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmana. एतन्महापुण्यमलं पवित्रं धन्यं यशस्यं पदमायुराधिशां प्राणेन्द्रियाणां युधिशैर्यवर्धनं नारायणोन्ते गतिरङ्गशृण्वताम्. This most sacred narrative confers extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the field of the battle, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs and organs of action. One who listens to it at the last moment of his life is transferred to the supreme abode of the Lord, O Saunaka. Thus ends the chapter entitled The Killing of the Demon Hiranyaksha. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.